When you think about scaling your business, there are so many ways to do it. And my next guest has done it in a different way, and I want you to hear this. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg, speaker, author, sales trainer, website reviewer, here to help you in your wedding and event business sell more, profit more, and have more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. I am so excited for the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast to have my good friend Joe Bunn joining me today on scaling. Joe, how you doing today?
What's up, Alan? Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, you and I could talk for hours, but what I really want to talk about today is you have expanded your business in a way that's different than a lot of people. Now, people that are listening, they're not only DJs, but they could learn from this as well. But let's go back. Let's do a little way back over here. Tell people about your business and when you got started.
Sure. So here I am, rapidly approaching 50, and I think I started this when I was 13 years old. So here we are, 37 years in the DJ business. Originally just me running around, getting my mom to carry me to shows. Eventually got a license and dragged a trailer around. DJ'd my own prom. Went to the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and became like the go-to frat party and bar DJ there. And then, really thought that was the end of it in 94. I guess that would have been when I graduated. And, it was like, oh, that was a great college job, or that was a great, young man's dream job, really. What am I supposed to do now? And kind of took a few other poorly chosen paths in the entrepreneurial world, like we all do. That didn't work out, and eventually realized, like, wait a minute, that you remember that thing that you were doing when you were 20? That was actually what you're supposed to do. It looks like the rest of your life, and at that point, so that was probably 99, 2000 is when I incorporated and started going around town. I had moved back to Raleigh, where I am now at that point. Going to the record stores when there were record stores, putting ads in the paper when there were newspapers, and looking for help, to stop turning down those people that were calling and saying, hey, Joe, I want you for my wedding. Well, I'm booked. Well, they're still having a wedding and they're still going to get married, and you just lost the sale. And so that was the original scaling was, okay, let me turn this from a single op, just DJ Joe Bunn running around doing as much as he humanly can, into, okay, well, let me get Greg, and let me get Randy, and let me get Steve. And, 3 became 6, became 10, I think we have 15 guys just here in the Raleigh office now.
So this was, the market was telling you needed to either keep turning business down or you could make some money from this. So it was doing that. But let me go back some. You DJ'd your own high school prom?
I definitely DJ'd my own high school prom. And I definitely wore one white Air Jordan and one black Air Jordan. So the same Jordan 5, but I had to have one to show that I had both pairs. That definitely happened.
So my band did not play my high school prom, but we played the high school anti-prom. Which was, people didn't like what the prom was set up. So a lot of people just boycotted it, and they made this anti-prom, and they made an anti-prom, and they hired my band to play the anti-prom. So we have that in common. We played our own proms there. So how soon after you realized, okay, I graduated college, I'm doing this stuff there, until you decided to add more people? Was this weeks, months, years?
No, it would have been about 5 years.
5 years. So 5 years, just Joe Bunn going around doing Joe Bunn.
Still doing other ventures, but at the same time playing in these little beach bars. At that time, I was living in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is the beach here. So playing at these beach bars, trying to do this hat and T-shirt company that we thought was going to be a massive success. I think I was dabbling in real estate. I think I was managing bands. I think I thought I was a hip hop producer. There was a lot of like gray, forgotten memories in that 95 to 2000 era. And then eventually, like I said, moved back to Raleigh. And so, yeah, there was a good gap in there where I just wasn't scaling at all.
Those are the things, though, those other gray areas that
Yeah.
make us who we are, right?
Yeah,
It's
right.
what did we learn? I installed burglar alarms. I did general contracting, right? I played in the band. I managed a retail store. I worked at the largest ad agency in the country and did nothing related to advertising, right? But you learn all this stuff. And it's funny, just the other day, my wife and I were coming back from Cape Cod, and my son wanted us to go take a look at a car he might want to buy. And he's like, you going anywhere near this neighborhood? And I was working in a car dealer in that neighborhood, and a job that I hated so much that I took the job in the wedding industry. And it's just funny, going by there, I had these flashbacks like, wow, if I hadn't hated that job so much, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
I wouldn't be here. I would have taken a different turn. So you then from 99, you're Joe Bunn multi-op, but multi-op in Raleigh, right?
Sure,
Multi-op in that area.
That's it.
But now, how many cities are you in now?
6 cities in 5 states. 6 cities.
6 cities in 5 states.
Right,
when did that start, and how did that start?
That would have been, that's a good story as well. That would have been like 2016, probably. Recent history. I mean, 5 years ago.
Right.
5-6 years ago, a DJ that was working for me at the time named David Fox approached me and said, I just graduated law school. I've passed the bar exam. My father is the head of the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, one of the biggest lawyers in the state. But I have decided now I don't want to follow in his footsteps, nor, and I'm going to rebuke the $100,000 in law education he just spent. And I want to be a professional mobile DJ. And I was like, oh boy. And so I'm like, so we go, the story goes, so I said, all right, I love your ambition. I like where this is going. You know, you are a really good DJ. I think you could manage people, but you can't do it here. And he was like, no. Where would you go? And I said, I would go to Charleston, South Carolina. It's near here. Your family still lives here. You're not married yet. You don't have any kids. It's one of my favorite cities in the country, probably. And it is, brides are high-fiving in the street on Saturday. It is the second, allegedly, largest wedding destination market besides Las Vegas in the country. Like, wow. That's how Charleston, South Carolina rolls. And he, goes down there, and it's been crushing it ever since. But we go to meet his father to get this money to start this franchise, or let's call it a license. And we're sitting at lunch, and I get my salad from the buffet. I sit down. I've got my fork like right at my mouth, and he goes, what do you want from me other than my money? And I was like, I'm looking around like, wait a minute. And I'm like, hold on a second. Number one, your son approached me. I didn't even have this idea. Right. Number two, and I'm ready for this, I have my tax return with me. So I put the salad down. I take the tax return. I take a pen. I circle the line where it shows how much money I made from Bunn DJ Company. And I slid it across the table. And I pointed to the number and I said, Mr. Fox, do you think your son could ever make that much money, even as a partner at a law firm? And he goes, nope. And I slid it back across the table. And he from that moment on, I had earned his respect. Right, I went to that meeting prepared for an ambush. I didn't know I was going to get ambushed, but I was prepared for an ambush.
Right. Again, I remember I had a speaker moment like that. I went to a speaker conference, and it was a smaller one. Yeah. And a bunch of us go out to dinner at this barbecue place. And there's one guy there that's a hedge fund guy. He's a speaker, but he's a hedge fund guy. Right. And he's going to buy, it turns out he's going to buy dinner for everybody because he wants everybody to know that he has money, right? Sure. and I didn't know him. I had just met him, and we're talking, and I just said, I forget how it came up, but I just mentioned something about what my gross was the year before, and his demeanor changed because I was no longer this guy trying to make it in the speaking business. It was like, oh,
right.
Okay.
Yes.
And then he talked to me differently. Now I don't think that's right. I don't think it's right.
No, it's not.
But it is. Again, you earned his respect because you didn't need his money.
No.
To make your business run.
No.
But let's also be honest here, because this is what we want to tell people with scaling. His son didn't need you to start a DJ business.
No.
Right. No. But why did David want to do it as Bunn DJ?
Right. So that's the key. And so there's two things I'll mention here. So all these people, right, that have these offices, at some point, I want to make this clear. They worked here. They worked for Joe Bunn. They knew the system. They knew what kind of people I would hire. They knew how to follow up. They knew what the website should look like. They knew what our marketing should look like. They knew what the gear should look like. They knew how to dress. At some point, all of these 6 people, or I'm sorry, 5 plus myself, knew the Bunn system, let's call it the Bunn way. And,
Right.
and of course, I trained them up more as they signed on as these licensees. Now I've kind of lost the question. What was it again? Why didn't he start djdavidfox.com or whatever? Right. Because he walks into an existing company that at that time had been around for 25 years plus, had thousands of reviews on Wedding Wire, had thousands of reviews on The Knot, had
some of which were his.
Exactly, right. And had an existing website, had a brand recognition, had, all of our literature done, all of our systems in place, all of everything, I'm an expert at DJ Event Planner. Let me show you how we book shows using this CRM. Like, he walked into it like everybody would want to walk into a business for not a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, he walked into it and got this turnkey solution, saved him hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistakes, saved him years in fast forwarding, to a successful business. And I mean, he was profitable year 1. I mean, it was that quick for him.
Right. And the thing is, if you've read the book, The E-Myth, and if anybody hasn't read the book, The E-Myth, they talk about the systems. What you're describing is the difference between finding your way to make it yourself, and you said it really well, making the mistakes, which we all make mistakes. You still make mistakes. We learn from those mistakes.
Sure.
But the key is that he walked into that, he brought with him that backpack full of credibility, that backpack full of ideas. And he can pick up the phone and call Joe Bunn and say, "Hey, Joe." Right.
Speed
but
dial.
I want to rewind just a little bit, because when you were talking about David had what it took. He was a great DJ, and I thought he could manage people. And this is something that everybody listening has to understand. Your role changes when you go from a single op to a multi-op, because you're managing people. Absolutely. And now your role changes when you go to these, in your case, licensees, different than a franchise. And there's a technical difference in there, but again, talk to your lawyer about that. And I guess David has an advantage because he was a lawyer. So there you go.
He did.
But you're buying the system because that system has been tried, tested, broken, fixed, updated, and all those things. So you're in these 6 different places, right? 5 states, 6 different places with those people that all worked for you locally. And is it one website for everybody, or how do you do this?
Yeah, it's pretty much a drop down, So when you get on the site, you pick, Charlotte, Raleigh, Charleston, San Diego, Richmond, Virginia, or my sister is in Bozeman, Montana. So
Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah.
So like San Diego, did that person want to move to San Diego and say, "Hey, let me do it"? He did not.
He had been living there he had worked for me previously here, had moved out there, let's say 5 years or so. We had been in touch with Facebook. He kind of saw what I was doing with these first couple of licensees, and he just reached out. And I happened to be out there recording some content for BPM Supreme, which is a record pool, and we reconnected. And he was like, "Man, I think, we need an office out here on the West Coast." And I was like, "Well, I love it out here. Let's do it. If I need to come out here once a year, it's
man, if you're going to pick part of California,
right?
My son lives in San Francisco. I love it, but the weather-wise,
no, it ain't San Diego,
right?
They both start with San, but that's about the only commonality.
Right, and it's not the North Carolina humidity. And,
no, man. It's like 78 every day, no humidity, and I'm like, when it rains, they're like, "What the hell is going on?" Like,
I was at a speaker conference there in July, and they have this thing called the June gloom, which is every morning in June. It's just really socked in fog, and then it burns off, right? But that year it was late, and it was in July, so I'm in San Diego, waking up, going, "What the." Wait a minute, where's the San Diego weather?
Right, where am I?
And then the afternoon was beautiful. It just burned off. The afternoon was beautiful.
Okay,
so scaling wise, you weren't looking to do it, right? So now you have David in Charleston,
South Carolina,
right? What was next?
Then Brandon, who I'm trying to think. Yeah. So no, then Frank, again, who had not worked for me here in a decade, had been living in Richmond, working in construction / traveled the world. You know, it was like one of those kind of nomadic types.
Okay.
But we stayed close. He would still go to like the Mobile Beat conference. He was still real tight with my right-hand man, Randy, that, you know, he would come to Raleigh. They'd go record shopping, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, man, and he was playing in a bar. He was not doing private events, but he was still DJing. And he just said, man, I think, you know, we could do an office here. Like there's a market here, you know? And again, conversation leads to, you know, here's what I can help you do, Frank. And so Richmond is born. And then not even a year later, probably same thing with Brandon. Brandon was living here, working for me. He was like, man, I would love to be in the Western half of North Carolina. That's where my family is. That's where, you know, my friends are. I'd like to get back there now that I'm out of college here at NC State in Raleigh. And we didn't really go. That's about 2.5 hours from here. And we definitely didn't go all the way to the mountains, which he goes to a lot, which is Asheville.
Yep, Asheville,
which,
yeah.
you know, you're
beautiful. Yeah, beautiful.
It's almost 4 hours from Raleigh. I don't really like to go. I love it there, but I don't want to drive 4 hours to play a show. And, you know, your weekends burn at that point. And so I said, look, man, you take from basically Charlotte west, you know, into the mountains. And so he took that. And then again, like I said, Stephen out in San Diego. And then my sister, who this is the, you know, I don't want to call it a midlife crisis. You know, so I'm almost 50. She's late 40s, has a child. She's married, lives out there, been living out there for years and years. You know, I always said she could be the mayor. She knows everybody. Bozeman is the city. The joke is this is the city where the millionaires are being run out of town by the billionaires.
Yeah.
Like it is, you know,
crazy.
It's crazy. Like her best friend is the chef for Tom Brady and Giselle. Her son goes to school with Justin Timberlake's son. Like it is absolutely crazy. Yeah. And she said, I think I should start a DJ company. And we had some hiring snafus. There's a lot of transient people there, you know, a lot of people that just come and go to school and leave, or they come and work the ski resort and they leave. And finally she was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to DJ myself. Now I was like, I'm sorry, what? This isn't what we agreed upon. And she was like, no, but like, can you, and you know, so she's been back and forth. I've been out there to train her and she's ready. So she has 18 weddings on the book for this year. And I'm leaving tomorrow to go out there and shadow her on her very first one. So
that's
very
great.
Exciting.
That's
very
great.
Exciting.
Right. So the other part of the Joe Bunn enterprise is you got into some other stuff. The DJ setups and just tell what else are you into? This is part of the scaling.
Yeah, the other two things and really the two things that saved me in 2020, you know, because we weren't doing shows, were in 2019, February 2019. I took all my years of speaking at conferences and not getting paid, and writing articles and not getting paid. And I put everything in this brain of 30 some years into a membership community called the DJ's Vault, you know, and it was basically a $30 a month membership, just like Netflix, if you will. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of the Netflix for DJs. And so there's everything from contracts and documents in there to me standing in front of a white wall telling how I market blah, 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 or telling about my new favorite piece of gear. I mean, every single month, on the very first day of the month, new content comes out. And I have not, knock on wood, missed one of those launches yet. And I think we have about 1,300 members, Alan. We've been holding steady even through the pandemic, right around that number. And then around that same time, we started selling this idea of a product, which was this aluminum DJ booth called the Command Center, and it's bungear.com if you want to kind of see what it looks like. And I had started dabbling into buying DJ furniture because I was so fed up with setting up on a 6-foot table. It was too big. It just looked ugly with the linen on it. And then you put a road case on top and you're supposed to then hide your cable. It just, to me, it was not professional grade, and it didn't match the brand that I was trying to portray, nor did it match the dollar figure that I was asking for. And so I bought one from Germany and they claimed it was mobile and it showed up. And I was like, dude, I'm in pretty good shape and I cannot move this by myself. This is stupid. It was gorgeous. It was wood and weighed 1,000 pounds, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm, kind of went into the facade route and I was like, this isn't still not what I'm looking for. And just a happenstance meeting with a guy here in town that, that's what he did. He basically said, I bring products to life. And we kind of partnered up, found an aluminum manufacturer, and boom, the command center was born. And even through the pandemic, people were still buying these. And now we're on our third run of 100, which I'm really proud of.
That's great. And so again, you needed something, it wasn't there. You looked around, you tried something, it didn't work.
Yep.
And if you still had the need, well, let's build it. Let's
right. And I
it.
could have I'm sure I could have built a 1 off or 2 off or 3 off. But I was like, man, if I feel this way, there have to be hundreds of other DJs that are having this same pain and I can help them look better, sound better, feel better.
And I what I love about your model is you didn't do it. I'm not out there trying to get every dollar I can from DJs. I have information people need. There's value to that information.
Yes.
$30 a month is certainly very fair for what you're doing.
I think it is.
I'm on your list, so I know. I see it. It's way fair. And spread the wealth, right?
Yeah.
I was on your podcast with Mike Walter, and you guys are just such givers. And I know we joke about that, not getting paid, at some of those conferences. But it's part of that giving back. When I go to a speakers conference, I don't get paid because I'm giving back to my industry the same way.
Sure.
But, if we raise all those boats, right? If more people would say, I don't know. Yeah. And somebody else knows. And it's okay if I pay them for those ideas because they've made those mistakes. Yeah. That's what people are doing with your licensing out there. So, all right. So what's next? Are there any other locations on the horizon?
No, that keeps my cup full. I mean, my bowl full, my everything full. I mean, honestly.
Wait. You also have a family.
I do have a family. That's important. And that always is going to come first. And I still, am asked all the time, well, do you still go out and play? And I adamantly, yes, I'm out there, especially now that the world is kind of starting to reset. I'm out there every weekend since about April 1st, doing the shows that I need to do and then making up the shows that didn't happen, which I'll be playing a lot more than I wanted to this year, just like Mike as well. But it's just a reset year, and it'll kind of level out in 2022. But I also think, just touching on that point, that is why people still listen to me. You know what I mean? In other words, yes, I could be the 50-year-old guy that kind of hung up the headphones and I was still preaching about this, that, and the other. But it's like, wait a minute. No, I just saw on his Instagram, like he actually is using that gear, or he really did do that setup himself. I think that's an important part of the success of really anything I've done is that I'm still hands-on. I'm still doing it. Right. Now, that said, your sister's business was originally not going to be her DJing. Yes,
correct. And if you are running a business, that's perfectly fine. That she could have run a DJ business without being a DJ.
She could have.
But with again her necessity, there's business that there is to do.
Yeah.
Like you said, I love the billionaires running the millionaires out of town. Right. I get the Wall Street Journal and I look in that real estate section and there's plenty of Montana properties up there. 15,000 acres and all this kind of stuff. So you can run the multi-op business without being the DJ.
That's true.
But if you're going to be let me teach you how to do this. Yeah, I was out there last Saturday doing this. I was over there doing this. And that's an important thing. It is. It's funny, with my business, I've never been a DJ. I'm very honest about that. I tell people, I did a mastermind in England one time with 10 DJs. And we sat around all day and we talked and we did a mastermind. And walking out, and one of the guys said to me, so Alan, how long have you been a DJ? And I said, Barney, I've never been a DJ. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't know how else to say that phrase. I have never been a DJ. And he said,
English still English in England?
Yeah. But he said to me, Alan, but you know my business better than I do. Yeah. I said, yes, I do.
Yeah.
I know your business
Right.
better than you do.
Right.
I cannot be a DJ. Do not
Right.
put me in front of Joe's setup.
Yeah,
'Cause
turntable, right.
I wiki. I can't do
Right.
that. Now you put me in front of a piano. That's a different
smash it.
story.
That's a different thing, right? I've seen that.
That's a different thing. But the point, what I want everybody listening who's thinking about scaling a business, there is a point in a lot of businesses, because Joe's business, part of it is speaking, part of it is training. A lot of businesses where you need to take that step back. You know, the captain of a cruise ship doesn't steer the boat, right? It tells them where the boat's going.
Sure.
But doesn't steer the boat. So people's businesses get to a certain point where you might have to do that. I have a lot of friends, a lot of clients with businesses where that's been an uncomfortable thing because they were used to just being there.
Yeah.
Even Sam Walton, who started Walmart, he famously said something to the effect of, and by the way, he started his business, he was in his 40s, right? And he said, I always knew I'd be wearing a lot of hats when I started a business. I just didn't know I'd be wearing them all at the same time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, right.
And we could all relate to that. So,
absolutely.
Joe, I'm going to put it into the show notes. But if people want to find out more about you or your setup or the DJ's Vault, how do they do that?
Yeah. So it's best way is probably just go to the website. It's BunnDJCompany.com, and BunnGear.com is for the DJ booths, and then the DJsVault.com is the membership site, and you can find all those again on Instagram as well. But I think the websites will probably give you all the information you need.
And Joe, you'll give me your social handles as well, because you got to see Joe's videos. Joe has a very distinct brand. He has a lot of fun with it. And I think that's important. It's noticeable, it's recognizable, and it's also fun. You guys are having fun
I
doing
definitely, if you want to see really my day in the life stuff, just find me on Instagram at Joe Bunn, JoeBunn.
Yeah, that's so much. Joe, thank you so much for joining and so much for sharing with everybody. Absolutely. I look forward to seeing you at the next conference.
Yes.
And we will do that soon. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, buddy. See ya. That was good stuff.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. Full transcripts of this and every episode are available on my website at alanberg.com. And if you have any questions about anything in this episode or any of the episodes, or you'd like to make a suggestion for a future topic or a guest for one of my dialogue episodes, you can email me directly at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com. Please subscribe to this channel, post a review if your platform allows it, and if you don't get email updates of the latest episodes, as well as upcoming workshops and masterclasses that I have, you can join at connectwithalanberg.com. I look forward to seeing you on a future episode. Thanks.